Monday, and welcome to the Resistance Broadcast, everybody. My name is John. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're new to the Resistance Broadcast, welcome to the base. The base is open. We're happy you're here to join us. We're going to talk about Star Wars news today and have a good time. It's what we like to do around here. James and Lacey with me as always. What are you guys St. Patty's people? Do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day in any way whatsoever? I used to be a big, I used to go out to the bars and stuff and, wearing the green and drinking the green beer and that sort of thing, but obviously not these days. And I also am not a fan of corned beef and cabbage, believe it or not, even though I have a lot of Irish in my blood. But do you guys celebrate St. Patrick's Day at all?
No.
I do. I'm so Irish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 50% Irish.
So what do you do for St. Patrick's Day? Do you have a tradition?
Drink probably Magners and just have a corned beef sandwich.
There you go.
Which corned beef is the meal of choice because when the Irish moved to New York, that is the only meat they would give them because it was the cheapest meat, which
Very
now
cheap.
it is not cheap.
No?
No.
Fun fact. We're always
You're welcome.
learning things here on the Resistance Broadcast.
Also,
I was going to say...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, go ahead, James. Go ahead.
I don't even know what the real fact is, but it was something along the lines of it's celebrated because when the guy, I guess St. Patrick, I assume, when he died, he was on Lent. So the point was they were celebrating his death by doing what he was not doing or something. I forget what it is.
I'm pretty sure it's he chased the snakes out of Ireland or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to change the subject. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, I thought we were going to talk
No.
about St. Patrick's Day the whole hour, but go ahead.
Oh, happy St. Patrick's Day. I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone that listened to our episode last week about social media and the people that reached out to me and said nice things about what I talked about because it was not an easy conversation, but I'm glad I had it. So thank you.
Nice. Yeah, I thought that was a good episode for a few reasons. One, because I think how we output ourselves or present ourselves, especially on Twitter and stuff, is fun loving and stuff like that. But people who listen to us know that sometimes we can really get into it and we don't hold back and that sort of thing. So I like when we are able to showcase those types of flex that part of what we're able to talk about. And the feedback, I agree. The feedback we got from that episode, I felt like was good in a way because it didn't come across like we were saying we know what to do. It was like we're asking the questions too. And we know how to talk about these things, but also in a positive way, I guess. People keep saying, we're positive, and even when we say we don't like things or we talk about a negative subject. So that always, whenever I read comments like that, mean the most to me, I think. So thank you to everybody who gave us those.
Yeah.
But today is Monday, which is our news show. News isn't super topical or big or hot right now in Star Wars, but we do have some stuff to get into, and James is going to run us through that starting right now.
It's the Resistance.
All right, Resistance Report, guys. We're back here again, right? When did we do this last? About a week ago? Last Monday?
It was like a week ago.
Yeah, I think it was last Tuesday. No, it was Monday. It was Monday. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got 3 stories. One of which is a story with a question mark story. Mandalorian has wrapped filming, pretty sure. So we actually we saw Gina Carano put out a tweet that says she was done, and we weren't really sure if that meant she was done or the show was done, but then it kind of got confirmed after the fact by a cinematographer working on The Mandalorian who put out a slate and said on Instagram and said that's a wrap on season 2. So we gotta assume that means the show wrapped. Now, John, I'm gonna ask you to kind of run through the history of this real quick, but last season we didn't quite get a clear-cut wrap this early either, right?
Yeah, so the wrap of Mando season 1 happened like mid-February, like February 16th or so, and crew members like on their private Instagram accounts, and you're talking about like, you're not talking about crew members like people that fans know. You're talking about crew members like a guy who's a boom mic operator and stuff like that. Like people who could likely are walking around places like Star Wars Celebration and world premieres and even on the street and you have no idea who that person is, but they work on your favorite show. Tweeting photos from their wrap parties and their after parties saying, oh, we're so done. Season 1 wrapped, and they had hoodies that said season 1 wrapped and all that stuff. So it confirmed that without an official announcement. And then I'm sure Favreau got mad and he had to eventually announce it later. But yeah, they wrapped mid-February there, and this one just wrapped early March, so a little later. And what's funny about that, though, is Mando debuted in November for season 1, and this time it's debuting in October. And so you're going a month later with the wrap and a month earlier with the debut. So you're shaving 2 months off for post-production. And all that means to me is good stuff, because that means they figured out what worked with season 1, and they knew what to cut corners with, what not to waste time with. Jon Favreau is a very, very check off all the boxes, leave no stone unturned. The boss in charge knows how to get things done. So it's boring, but in the best way possible, especially for a Star Wars project post 2012. So I'm glad that it's boring and that we're finding out that Mando wrapped and that there were no problems and that full steam ahead. We're going to see this show in 7 months, and I'm very excited to see what happens, because everything that you're hearing is that it's going to be bigger and better than season 1, and that gets me excited.
I just actually noticed, I think Dave Filoni drew a Mandalorian on the slate.
I was gonna say that.
Well, tell us what you noticed about the picture on Instagram, Lacey.
It's okay. So first of all, there's a sketch from Dave Filoni of the Mandalorian in red in the lower right-hand corner. Actually, no. This is really cool. It's a clapper that they use to mark scenes. Yep, we got it, John. Yep. All right. So it's a clapper that they use in between scenes to when they're editing, they can go back and mark which take they like best. I noticed a lot of people online, and I can't specify one person because I saw it from so many different people that I don't want to say like, oh, this person said this first. But the art on the clapper, it looks similar to art from The Last Airbender, as a lot of people were saying. And they were like, kind of like, oh, what does that mean? Are they taking themes from that? Or is it just like a cool design that they chose to put on there? What does it mean? So I guess we'll see what it all means in this coming season. But obviously we haven't gotten an official announcement yet, but we've gotten this and then Gina's post, which I knew, and we all know that Gina is going to be in the season. She had to come back. But just seeing her in the costume again is just so exciting, because she's like, to me, one of the best characters to come out of that show. And then I love like the chill pose she has on the ramp to the Razor Crest. Like, it's such like a chill picture that you're like, I'm going to frame this and put it on my wall because it's that cool. And then I loved the other picture that she used, which was the boom mic guy in pink shorts, going back to the original boom mic guy in A New Hope, which Clayton Sandell interviewed that guy. So if you're interested, check it out on Clayton's page. But yeah, I love behind the scenes stuff, guys. I feel like I keep saying this because that's all we're getting right now. But like, I am alive. I am living for this content, and I'm excited. Yeah, and there's a design of a Mandalorian in the bottom right hand corner. It's true.
Where? No, I don't know that art is odd, right? It seems like an odd choice. It seems very yin and yang. Maybe it has something to do with Baby Yoda and how he understands the Force. Maybe we do go to a planet and there's these fish or something. I don't know. But it could kind of be like a, I don't know. No, John?
Well, just Dave Filoni and his sea creatures. He just loves space sea creatures, you know?
No, he's famous for liking wolves.
And whales and purgles.
The Purgles. No. I love that name.
Did Ezra go flying into the unknown on the back of a wolf? or a
I would say
space
that
whale.
he's not famous for liking his sea creatures.
He could be famous for
That's
liking a lot of
ridiculous.
So
things.
going back to what I was saying, what people were chiming about online, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is the fish from Last Airbender.
Mm-hmm.
It has the circle on its head. It's like
Yeah.
a moon spirit. So people are like, oh, what does it mean?
You're right. It could also just be him being like, "Oh, I like
Like
those,"
this-
and that's
This
I
is
want
the
them on
moon
there.
and ocean spirits.
Yeah, like someone's clapper could have like of something from a band they
Camera.
like.
Ooh.
Like this might just be his like, "Oh, this is how I also express myself." It has nothing to do with the show, and these
Yeah.
are my
Yeah, it does have that person's name on it. So
Yep.
yeah.
It might just be what they like. And I said that, but it is kind of cool that maybe they are pulling themes from other shows or inspiration like we've seen. So yeah.
James, did you have anything else on this? I had one other thing I thought of.
Not really in particular. I just am excited for the show to get back, and I think what you kind of hinted at earlier about them having less time to do the production probably goes to show how they've kind of figured out the tech. I think there's probably a pretty good chance that they were like, hey, this is the first time we're using this technology and we don't really know what it's going to be like and how much we're going to have to fix. And then when they got done with it, they were like, this actually worked like really well and is a lot easier to add the effects and make it look the way we wanted to in post-production than we thought. So then they just set their schedules accordingly. They're like, oh, we don't need that much time. We can
All right.
shoot closer to the actual release.
Yeah,
Because we've got this. We know that we trust the equipment.
I
So,
agree.
yeah, it's good news, I guess.
The only other thing I was going to bring up is that some people just assumed because there was the wrap photo and they saw Dave Filoni was directing it that he directed the finale, but shows don't always direct in sequence. So this could have been episode 1, it could have been episode 5, or I should say chapter 5, or if they're carrying the chapters over, chapter 13 or chapter 14, it doesn't mean that this was from the final episode of the season. So I think some people just made that assumption. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Now he could have.
I did.
But
I made that assumption.
did you?
Whoops.
Yeah, he may very well have, but there's no proof to that. It's just there's a clapper and there you go.
Well, speaking on The Mandalorian, we are back with Giancarlo Esposito, who again is ranting and raving about how much he loves the Darksaber, which is interesting because, watching the show like Breaking Bad, you never thought, one day that dude is going to wield the Darksaber. It's just so crazy to think about. But he was talking to comingsoon.net and said, about working with it. He says, I really am. I want to say I've destroyed quite a few of them, and the prop guys go, wow, you really go all in. So he is having a lot of fun on set wielding this Darksaber. So he said a lot more. Lacey, do you want to get into any of the other things or your thoughts on him coming back and having this weapon?
Yeah. I'm super excited he's coming back because he's such a good villain. And we talked about this a lot on the Mando Fan Show and then after the fact on this show. He's one of those guys that like just does evil really, really well. And whatever project he's in, I haven't really seen him play a good guy. If someone has pointed out to me, but I've seen a lot of bad guy stuff from him, which works. He has that I think he loves being the bad guy. Like it's part of something that he likes to do. So as we always say, it's fun to see actors excited to be a part of Star Wars. And I love that he's talking to all these people, but yet he's not really saying much. He's like, yeah, I touched it, but you already know that he has it. So he's like, yeah, I broke a couple. And you're like, oh, I could see that. But it's just the idea that he probably wants to talk about it a lot and he can't. But what stuck out to me with this interview is him talking about how the show is going to talk about the hero's journey. And I'm sure John's going to get into that kind of stuff. But when he started talking about his life journey himself and what it means to him and what things he's accomplished and, some people haven't accomplished as much as him and what it means to him, that kind of stuck with me. I was like, wow, this interview got really deep because every day
That's interesting you say that. because I was like, he's gone off the rails.
No,
like, I don't know what he's talking about anymore.
I thought it went super deep because he went from the hero's journey to then reflecting on himself and what it means to him and what he's experienced in the show. But like being a part of this is kind of bigger than he is. And I love that he's not full of himself in the sense of like, oh, I'm an important role in the show. He's like, no, I'm a part of something bigger. This is Star Wars. I love being a part of it. And he's like, not many people have that experience that I have. And I'm so happy about it. So if I don't accomplish other things on my list, I'm okay because I'm part of this. And I'd agree. Like if I ever get to be a part of a Star Wars movie or show, like that's it. I'm just going to be like, okay, well, I've peaked. So, but yeah, that's it. It really stuck with me because then I was like, okay, well, what are my goals in life? Like, what do I need to get done?
Right.
And then I started making a list. So there's that.
Nice.
John, what stuck out to you in this interview?
Well, first, again, that thing I always say where if a Star Wars actor expresses how much they enjoy being in it and how much they love it, that means a lot to me as a fan. Even though, ironically, my favorite actor in Star Wars is Harrison Ford, and he's gone on saying it's a job and that sort of thing. But I love him saying, "I love this. I love this show. I really do." He loves being involved in it. Also, the fact that there's no drama at all around the Mandalorian, it seems. Whereas, there was a lot of baggage carried with the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy. This seems so far untouchable, and maybe it's because of how organic it is, and there's no fan claim to characters. It's kind of, we're all on page one, and I think they're taking notice of that, and I think that's where we're going to get going with the next wave of Star Wars movies. Is everyone's going to be starting on page one, so that there's no, you ruin my blank as we go forward. Now, there may be people who, if this doesn't go well, they say, oh, you screwed up the Mandalorians, but I don't think that's going to happen. Which takes me to my next point, him talking about the hero's journey and stuff like that. Man, Jon Favreau, people keep saying Filoni, Filoni, Filoni. This is Jon Favreau's show. This is his operation. He created it with Kathleen Kennedy's blessing. She was not banned from the set. But he
what do you mean? That's what I've heard.
Yeah. But Favreau has really captured George Lucas' Star Wars and all its subtleties. And when I watched The Mandalorian, and I watched it back a couple times, I really do get the old school Star Wars feel. The rawness to it, the simplicity to it, the pureness to it. I really think Jon Favreau has something special here, and that makes me hope that he sticks around beyond The Mandalorian. Now, whether that's in a big role or not, I'm not sure. I know he's very keen to staying West Coast, from what I understand. So I can't see him, going over to England for big Pinewood Studio productions or anything like that. But I really think he's captured something here. And hearing Giancarlo Esposito, who isn't even, I don't know how big of a Star Wars fan this guy is. He could be fringe, he could be diehard, but him making the connections of Lucas and Joseph Campbell and stuff like that lore nerds like to talk about, surprised me. But that whether he learned that himself because he was so vested in this job or he knew that going in, that's impressive to me too. So just knowing that all of this passion, all this heart from these actors and creators are what we're going to see put forth on screen makes me endear to this show even more than I ever thought I could. So I'm more excited for what's ahead with Mandalorian than I was going into it debuting. And I think that's usually a hard thing to say. But that's all I really have to say about it. I mean, it's just, I'm very excited. I'm happy with everything I'm hearing. It's all good. So I hope that continues through the next 7 months until we press play on our apps and fire away. Chapter 9.
I do really like what you said about him. I didn't think about that. The fact that he had all this like history of Star Wars in his story, he's like, well, of course I'm having fun on set. When George did this back in, that's interesting. And I didn't really pick up on that. I just kind of read it. It's like, okay, yes, these are facts. These are things,
Yeah.
But like consider the source, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's interesting. I don't think I would have expected him to have that knowledge.
Right.
I think we're all just kind of in the boat right now where I think we need to remember what it was like going into some of the other movies too, like building the hype of, because even in my head, I'm starting to picture what I think Mandalorian season 2 could look like. And then I'm like, oh, but it also could totally be this. And I would be cool with that, but it's not what I was thinking. And so that gets real sketchy, right? We got to remember that it's just going to be something new. Let it be what it is, you know?
Right.
So, but I mean, the picture that he's painting of like wielding the Darksaber and wrecking shop and stuff, I'm like, I want to see that. I just hope it lives up to what I'm thinking it could be, you know?
Yeah.
That all sounds really cool. Lacey, anything else?
I'm just really excited for the Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah, we
Also,
are.
like a cool new villain. You know, we're gonna talk more about this on Thursday.
Let's hope he doesn't die.
Yeah, but I'm really, I love a bad guy who is a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so done with redemptions. Like, just give me a really bad person, and I think that's what this guy is, who's gonna make our hero even more heroic in the end. If it doesn't turn into a Shakespearean tragedy, but I don't think it will.
I mean, not to talk about episode 9, but I'm glad they're not going to redeem like they did in Palpatine. You know, Palpatine redemption.
Totally. Yeah. One of those clones
It's
got
just-
redeemed.
totally.
Spoiler alert,
I felt
James.
so sorry
Jeez.
for him. You know, by the end of the
Spoiler.
movie.
I mean, it comes out on digital tomorrow, right? Rise of Skywalker.
I'm waiting for the hard
think so.
copy.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Let's not talk about that. All right. Let's talk about the comic books, which is rare on this show, but it has Kylo Ren in it, so of course we're going to talk about it. I'm just teasing.
I mean, it's all I
but
talk
no.
about. So
The Rise of Kylo Ren released its final issue, and from this point, if you haven't read it, we are going to talk about what happened in the comic. So, spoiler alert for that. You can scrub through if you're watching on YouTube until you get to the Scoundrels Rundown logo, because that's what's up next. But let's talk about this. Lacey, I'll ask you. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go last? What are we feeling here?
I can go first.
All right, let's talk about the Rise of Kylo Ren. What'd you think?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't read it, but I read the summary and looked
Off to
at
a good start.
Well, I just
Just
want to be
teasing.
honest that I didn't read the whole thing, but I did read
Yeah.
some of the panels. I read the synopsis. I went through some of the details. First of all, right off the bat, I really love Ben Solo Gone Bad's outfit. It's very like Han Solo, but in black. Like he went to Hot Topic and was like, give me the Han Solo, but like emo moody. And they were like, okay, here you go. Or like an Express. I guess it's more of an Express look than a Hot Topic
I
look.
thought of him as like the Crow, but I've never really seen or paid attention to
Yeah,
the
it kind of
Crow,
looks like that. Yeah, absolutely. It was just very...
so I don't want to misspeak.
if you took his outfit and just brought it into like Photoshop and then changed the colors, it would be Han Solo's outfit. It's just all black. But I think it's really cool, and I hope to see people cosplaying it at Celebration at the end of August. That'd be really fun. That being said, this comic to me was okay. I think it gave backstory to some of the moments with Kylo Ren and obviously his turn from Ben Solo. I don't know. It's one of those things that like it didn't change my mind or anything about Ben Solo. I think it clearly shows that he makes a distinct choice, which I think a lot of people tend to twist. They're like, oh, well, he was forced to the dark side. Like this comic literally lets you know, like he made that choice. He decided to do this. Like, yeah, people kind of pushed him towards it, but ultimately, like he decided like, I hate everyone and I want to be a bad guy. The bleeding of the Kyber crystal was kind of interesting. I'm not a big fan of the art in this. I don't think that they get what Adam Driver looks like, and that kind of takes me out of it because it doesn't look like him. Whereas when I've seen comics with Rey, it looks like Daisy Ridley. And then other than that, I mean, it was interesting to see Rey in one of the panels when she's little. It looked like
They do like a like all
Like a
across the
cutaway,
galaxy at this
yeah.
moment. Yeah.
so she feels him when he goes to the dark side or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which then
And Palpatine was around at this time too.
Yeah, and it kind of that confuses me because
that means that they had a connection early on. And then in The Last Jedi, Snoke says, like, I connected your minds. And so it confused me to the sense, like, that's what I immediately thought of. I was like, okay, but what does this line mean then? Is he lying? Because they never really clarify that. And then I feel like they kind of just brush it over in The Rise of Skywalker.
I think there's a way they can gloss over it. I could be wrong, but
I don't know. It was just a little confusing for me. That's all.
yeah. No, I hear that. I do.
But other than that, I think it's a fun comic. People that like comics and Kylo Ren are going to love it. From my understanding, it's been selling really well, and they've been doing multiple runs of it, which is always great. That means that they're going to make more content as well as more people buy it. Did it change my view or my love for Kylo Ren? No, but it was cool.
Yeah. I kind of feel that.
You want to go, John?
Yeah, I don't know if you had a setup, so I was waiting for that. But yeah, I have questions about this, and not, Charles Soule is such a good dude, and he's a really good writer, and fans love him, and we're looking forward to his first book for the High Republic, Light of the Jedi. But I have to ask the question, like, did they even attempt or approach, and I had to think they had to have tried to approach this story as at least an animated show or something. Try to get Driver to voice something or even somebody, because it's such a popular character. Like, anytime he's mentioned, impressions on social media explode. Anytime something comes out, it sells out.
He's trending, yeah.
Anytime something reveals, it sells out. It's such a popular character, whether it's Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, whatever. Don't you want to capitalize on that? Like, you're not going to capitalize on that through comic books the way you could another medium. And I think it's such a big story that they could have told in a mini series or something. So I wonder if they breached it and tried to like lock Driver in to do some voice work for it, and he just wasn't interested. I gotta think that they tried to do that just from a financial standpoint, but it didn't. So that aside, we're moving on. Here's the comic. Not a huge fan of how they told it, because, and I'm just gonna disagree a little bit with Lacey here. I felt like it was like not a cop out, but like making excuses for his turn. Like, it wasn't his fault. Like, they did this to him, and it was
I thought it was clear that he decided.
I know, yeah, he makes the final decision, but getting to the path almost reminds me of like an episode of Three's Company, where there's just so many miscommunications and confusion, and nobody knows what's going on, and it's a big circle like this. And I feel like that's happening with him, to the point where they're using it as an excuse to why he turned. Like, whereas Anakin's like, I am doing this because I want this power to do this. Whereas with Kylo Ren, it's kind of like, oh, I'm torn here and torn there, and they told me this and they told me that, and they played with my mind and stuff, and then he like rampaged. So I just feel like they kind of are making excuses for him a little too much. I get you are going to get manipulated, so it's going to happen, but felt like their foot was on the gas a little too much with that. The dyad thing that you brought up, I think it's good because it supports the stuff in TFA, like Kylo Ren saying, "What girl?" Otherwise, why did he say that, So if he had sensed her for a long time, then that's why he would say, "What girl?" That's the one that they had sensed.
Sure, I agree with that.
The gloss over thing that I was talking about before, Lacey, with Snoke saying, "I bridged your minds," he could have bridged them in terms of letting them Skype, like he connected them on that level or something. Whereas
he
the
gave
connection,
them the password to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Whereas the sensing that person and their presence is one thing, but being able to communicate, maybe he did do that, and then once they had that ability, they were able to do it without him. So I'm gonna say that for now. I'm sure maybe James has a different take on that. But overall, okay story. Not great, I guess. I don't know. I would have liked to. I need more on Snoke. Maybe that's for a different story. Maybe this is just not supposed to be there. I need a lot more on Snoke. So I think it's decent stuff. It's cool. Would have been way cooler with an animated series with Adam Driver voicing it. But like I said, I'm sure if they tried it, he probably turned it down. It would have been a big hit, though. That's all I'm gonna say. But that's all I got. So James, I don't know if you want to take this one home, but what do you think?
Well, I just don't know about the animated thing. I mean, I think what I will agree there is that I think that the story should have been longer. This was only 4 issues. And I kind of feel like what really sums it up for me is
what
like...
What are most runs, James? Like, what's your typical run? 8?
No, well, it kind of depends. They usually will do like a 5-run like mini-series thing. So that happens.
5 issues?
Yeah, but I'm never like a huge fan of those. Those usually seem like they're like smaller things. I guess what I'm saying is I would rather have seen this be an ongoing rather than the miniseries. Like I just wish they would have said like Kylo Ren is getting his own miniseries, you know what I mean? It's called, Solo or something, or who knows, But it's like him throughout the academy, and it just goes and goes and goes, and it like you watch the transformation happen over a long time. This again, going back to even that first issue where it was like the event happens and then he's like, okay, that's it. I hate you. I'm going to kill you. And like, he like snaps really quickly. But I was going to say what summarizes it in is the last like 4 pages of this is him like building the lightsaber, and it all feels so rushed. Like there's a thing where he like turns it on and then it breaks, and then he looks down and he sees another one, and then it's in like 3 panels, like the explanation of his regular lightsaber needed the little exhaust pieces. It's like you just illustrated that so fast, and it just everything seemed to go very quickly. And I'm with you. Maybe I am more with Lacey on this. Like I guess it's not that I don't like the animation, because I look at like the Knights of Ren and I look at some of the other characters, but every time
the Knights of Ren are
Ben
cool.
Solo is on the screen or on the page, the whole comic doesn't feel right. There's something about like his face or something. I don't know. I can't explain it.
And then if you take him from different pages and put them next to each other, they never look alike. Like they look different.
Wasn't it the Age of Resistance Snoke comic where we joked around that he looked like Gene Simmons from Kiss?
Like no one can get Adam Driver right.
They just can't draw him. Yeah.
Just like they can't get Oscar Isaac right either. A lot of times, like he always looks a little off.
Mm-hmm.
The big one for me in this is, and I was never a fan of like the old X-Men movies. I always said that they seem to think that like kids screaming is like the perfect way to show emotion. Like, and then they like stick
like
out
Dragon
the
Ball
claws
Z.
and they go, No, that's different. Yeah. This is
What
like,
kids screaming? What are
they're
you talking
scared
about?
or something. And then they like run around using their powers and stuff. And it's just dumb. And it just drives me nuts. And this kind of reminded me of that, with him being like, him having the opportunity to kill somebody, and you're supposed to be like, oh, this is his like where he's on the edge. He's like debating it and he's not really sure. And then the other guy kills him, and then he's like, see, I knew you were like on the edge. You're not you're into this. And he's like, yes, I am. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from. He's not like slowly turning. He's like bipolar. Like he's totally like, I don't know if I should do this. And then like the next scene, he's like, I totally am going to do it. And it just, it's a weird comic.
That's kind of prequel-y Anakin though, man. Like there's a lot of those moments where it's like, whoa, he just got mad and threw that can across the room out of nowhere.
Yeah, but you know what though? Even when you're talking about that though, Anakin is standing there going, I know I shouldn't, but, and this isn't like that. He's just standing there,
He's just yelling.
Yeah. Like if he was in a deli and didn't get his sandwich in time, he just loses his mind. Is that what you're saying, sort of?
Yeah, like if this took place in a deli,
and he wanted his bologna sandwich, his Dave bologna.
John loves to give examples or metaphors with a deli.
Well, we had a Patreon video where we talked about bologna for like 5 minutes. It was great.
You know what I did like about this though? There's a single panel where he's killing the girl and it's like just seems so effortless.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me visualize a scenario where like there's bodies on the floor, but they're just double checking to make sure that everybody's dead. And there's like just a person going through like just casually and very lightly putting lightsabers into people.
Yeah.
It's just so dark. But that's what it made me feel like. It feels like he didn't bring the blade down on her. He was just like, nope, I'm just going to like aim this kind of in your direction and it's going to go through you because you're not really even there.
Putting the candle in the birthday cake, just like, yeah.
Yeah. He just kind of like lightly puts it through her. It's so crazy. But that's, I don't know. That's it. I mean, I guess it's fine. It is the story of him turning, but just in typical prequel fashion, like you said, I think all of it just kind of happens really fast. And all of a sudden right now we were anxiously awaiting this comic series and we're already done with it. Like 4 chapters. That's it. Boom. It's done.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to say this, whether you like it or not, this comic series was written with a lot of soul.
Do you guys watch this trailer for Soul?
What's that?
It's the new Pixar.
The Pixar movie?
Oh, no. I heard it was like another one of those like tearjerk things. I haven't watched it yet.
Might be. We don't know.
Oh, boy.
All right. What we do know, though, is that the Scoundrels rundown is next. So, Lacey.
Ready? Punch on 3.
Take it away.
1, 2, 3.
Punch it!
Yeah.
Well, it's the rundown. So this coming weekend, I was supposed to attend Ace Comic-Con in Boston. They had a bunch of people scheduled from Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Kerry Russell, etc., etc. Unfortunately, due to all the craziness with the coronavirus, it was canceled for everyone's safety, which I agree with. So I'll let you guys know if it gets rescheduled for a later date. But right now, we just all have our fingers crossed that everything's going to work out for Star Wars Celebration in August. I can tell you from my own experience, there's plenty of time for everything to work out, so don't panic yet. And I've also talked to people on the inside, and they've also told me that they haven't even considered postponing or canceling. They're just working away, getting ready for August. So I know why you're nervous, but just stay positive. We got time. All right. So, are you guys loving the return of the Clone Wars? I'll wait for you to respond. All right. Yes! Make sure you're checking out the Clone Wars fan show, which is exclusive to our YouTube channel. I almost said page. Channel. James rates, reviews, and breaks down each new episode of the final season of the Clone Wars. So after you watch the next one this Friday, head to our YouTube channel and join James to break it all down. James, how's it going with that, by the way? I know it's awesome, but I'm just asking you.
Yeah, I just wish they didn't do like Friday at 3 a.m.
I also wish they didn't flag you for the music, but
yeah, we did change the music on.
It's cool though. I like it better.
Not the most recent episode, but the one before. I just went looking for some royalty-free music that was kind of Clone Wars-esque. Let's do that.
I like it better.
Would you have been able to toss in some Devil Wears Prada at the beginning?
I think I would get copyright.
James gets flagged for his own music on YouTube.
Wait, it's not. Technically, it's not my music. When you sign the masters to somebody else. You give away that copy.
Sorry, man.
Well,
fun fact: Scoundrels Rundown.
Speaking of YouTube, Lacey's Outpost is back. That's right. The show where I review the coolest toys and Star Wars merch is back. There is going to be a 3rd episode coming up. So we're on episode 3 of this period of time. It's going to be the Dio from the Rise of Skywalker, the little RC remote. I was very surprised with it. I went in with thinking one thing, came out with a different opinion. So you're definitely going to want to check that out on Wednesday. That being said, if you have any suggestions or items you'd like to see me unbox or review, you can tweet us at RBATSWNN or email us at resistancebroadcast@gmail.com, because there will be plenty of new Star Wars merch and collectibles coming, and I'll be looking out to review them on the Outpost show. It's fun. It's a good time. I like talking about Star Wars stuff.
Also, hey, I'm just going to throw it in there because it isn't in the show notes, but last week we also got that trailer for Galaxy of Adventures Season 2. Did you guys see that?
Yeah. It looks... I love the look of those.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped to see more of those.
Yes.
It was like all sequel trilogy, and I was like, dude, all of this looks so awesome. Like, it ends with Rey sticking it up, and then it backs out, and Kylo Ren's broken helmet is above her and stuff. It's like,
cool.
this is
Yeah.
so sick.
It's so cool. And they also released on Yahoo a first clip with Rey.
Nice.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that.
Yes.
Cool.
Very
I probably did by the time this episode airs, though. Monday.
But that's it. So until next time, Chewie, get us out of here.
Okay, now it is time to hear from you guys in Ask the Resistance.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
You guys send us questions, and we do our best to answer them for you, make it fun, talk about your handle, congratulate you if you got your handle, and so on. We've noticed a lot of people saying, getting a kick out of us talking about their handles and the like lately.
Stephen A. Bowman was like, you guys talked about this way too long. Please move on.
No, Skittles.
Skittles guy. Loved that, yeah. All right, but we no Skittles this week. Sorry, buddy. But we do have some questions. This one is going to go to, I guess we'll start with Lacey this week.
What? Weird.
Tech Stevo at Tech Stevo 1. All right, hang on a minute. Steve, there's no way there's another Tech Stevo out there. So what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Poor
Is
guy
there
was
another
like,
Tech
I
Steve-o?
checked and it wasn't available, John.
James is going to check right now while we give Lacey her question, which is... Thanks for the question, though, by the way, buddy. Would you want to see an animated miniseries based on Charles Soule's The Rise of Kylo Ren on Disney Plus?
Yes, absolutely. I didn't even have to think about it. I would love a Kylo Ren animated series. I think it's the best way to explore that character without having to do a full-blown production. Of course, I would love a full-blown show or movie about Kylo Ren, but I'm being realistic. I would love, actually, speaking of what James just brought up, I would love it in the style and animation of those Galaxy of Adventure pieces. I love the look of those. I said this months ago, but I've never been a fan of Boba Fett, and their piece about Boba Fett made me be like, oh, he is kind of cool. So I would totally watch that. And I think we talked about it a little bit just now, like him in the Jedi Academy and then making that turn, like giving us more time with it and not feeling as rushed. I feel like with The Rise of Skywalker and this comic series, what we've gotten an overall feeling of is rushed. Like they didn't really give us enough time with the character in it. And like John said, it's a super popular character, not just because I love him and I'm constantly talking about him. It's not just me making him trend. So it would be great to see an animated series. But I did tweet the other day that I miss Kylo Ren content. So this would be a perfect way to get that. I really would like Adam Driver's voice, but since he's younger, it could be someone else.
Lacey, do you think if they put out a poll asking fans would they like seeing
Star Wars?
a Kylo Ren animated show on Disney Plus, do you think it would get over 90% yes?
Yes, easily.
I figured, yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it'd be like
they would never put
92
out
to
that
8.
tweet. I think putting out that poll ensures that it's already happening.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if we ever see a poll from Star Wars saying, do you want to see a follow-up to Solo?
I've read the replies on basically everything from the release of The Rise of Skywalker to now. Like I'll skim through them. Guys, it gets nuts about some of the stuff people post in there. Like terrible, terrible images. So they are staying clean and clear of Kylo Ren and Ben Solo right now.
I almost,
which makes me so sad because, like you said, it is such a good character, and there's so much more they can explore with him. But that's not the way to get it.
I almost sent a tweet to that effect. At this point, it'll be last week, but like along the lines of like, if you're looking to get this character back, you're not doing yourself any favors, because if you think all this like attacking, like bring Ben Solo back and what'd you do to that character and you destroyed him and all this stuff is going to make Lucasfilm be like, you know what? Let's greenlight 3 more movies with that character because that'll be healthy to do. Like they're not doing themselves any favors if they want the character to come back. If you're going to behave
being
that way.
nice and kind goes a long way, guys.
So do you guys want the update?
Yes. Is it in? What's the deal?
There is another Tech Stevo who
poor
did his
Tech
account
Stevo.
in March of 2008, and they have 0 followers. So it totally is like a bummer.
But then,
and so I'm going to tweet Tech Stevo 1. I'm going to say, you don't know what this tweet is about.
No, you have to.
You
tweet
will come on Monday.
Why don't you tweet at Tech Stevo and be like, delete your account? People like saying that to people.
Oh my God.
It's from 2008.
All right.
Your tweet was sent.
Good. I owe a Tech Stevo an apology, man. I
you
called you out.
definitely do.
I'm sorry. I really apologize. But if your name's like Steve Johnson, then get your handle, man. I don't know.
That's
Good
rare
question,
for
though. Thank
John
you.
to apologize. So
Steve Johnson.
just take that in. Enjoy it. It won't happen all the time.
All right. Okay. James, Matt at MIB1188 asked you if you could pick one character besides Han Solo, of course, make Solo 2 happen, from all of current canon, movies, TV, books, comics, to get a Disney Plus series or standalone movie, who or what would you pick? James Baney, creative head of Star Wars.
I might get some groans, but the first one that I thought of, and there's some good ones out there, but I'm going to stick to that Thrawn story, man. I don't know. I expected John to give me the biggest groan.
I'm here to support you, man.
I really think that if they did something cool with this as like an ongoing television show for Disney Plus, and they introduced that character, and I think that the bigger, I think there's a larger audience of people that would be like, I didn't think I would like Star Wars, but when I see that character and how he's manipulating and he's like figuring things out, and it kind of like is, I don't want to say like Sherlock, that's not the right thing, but like he's smart beyond how a person should be smart. I think that character would really reach a cool new audience and would pull people in to be like, I don't even care so much about the space stuff of it. I like that character, and I like how he talks and always makes everything happen. And they toy around with Thrawn a lot. Like, even when he's not always the bad guy. A lot of times he sees saving people's lives or people needlessly dying as like a bad thing. He's like, I don't understand why these people have to die. So he often will do the right thing and save the right people. It's just when he needs to accomplish his mission, he will do whatever needs to be done. You know, he's a cool character, and I really think that they could reach a large audience if they casted it right and presented the show in a very specific way. It could be awesome.
With Pierce Brosnan, because clearly that's where they're finding the look from.
Yeah. I don't know who they would cast. Maybe, no.
David Schwimmer.
I almost said,
Pivot.
now I can't think of his name.
Pivot.
Mads Mikkelsen.
He's already been in Star Wars.
That's why I was like, well, that wouldn't work.
What about, what's his name? Like
he's probably too old.
What about like Fassbender? I always thought that'd be a good pick.
That was a popular one for a while. I don't know, maybe. Put in the comments, guys. Who do you want to see play Thrawn? Who's the best pick? That's not an answer. Don't say no one.
Hands down, the best answer is no one.
This is I thought you were going to say Caleb Doom, but Thrawn, okay.
No, his story's kind of been told already.
Yeah, but not his like high school years.
Sort of.
All right. Listen. Thank you, Matt, for the question. Good stuff, James. All right, Ryan Fenley. This he sent via Patreon. Ryan Fenley is one of our resistance officers over there. Thanks, Ryan. Ryan said, "Will the High Republic still be the backdrop of the next movie series, as was likely planned, or do you think Lucasfilm and Disney have changed plans?" That is so interesting because, as you guys probably heard me on the podcast and the Rumor and Theory review, I do think that Benioff and Weiss were connected to this thing, and it was supposed to be more than just these books and comics. So it makes it interesting if you're going to bring in new talent, like writers and directors, to usher in your new wave of Star Wars movies. Because if you're connecting it to this stuff now, which exists, then if you want to really tie it into what this is, you're asking writers and directors to pick up on existing material, almost like adapting a screenplay in a sense, because you need to know these characters and that sort of thing, which makes me wonder, like a little bit of a catch-22, because you want someone who would come on board to do that, but will an established movie creator be cool with that? We saw someone like a Gareth Edwards come in and do Rogue One. He didn't exactly have the longest tenured resume of success, so he was probably cool with that. I think they want someone who is a surefire hit to kick off your next wave of Star Wars movies. They cannot screw that up, because Star Wars is a movie franchise, and first and foremost, and if you're going to say this is our next saga, you can't drop the ball with that. So they are going to get someone in that chair who will definitely deliver from a writing perspective and directing perspective. If they bring in a talent like that, are they going to be willing to play in this already table set with characters in comics and books? I don't know. So my gut is saying for that reason, no, that it's not going to be. But I think we are still going to go back and explore that era in movies. I just don't know. I don't know if the High Republic's going to be it, at least to kick off your next post-Skywalker saga series of films. But we'll see. All right, guys, one more question. This one's for all of us from Sooner Thrawn, also a patron officer. Speaking of Thrawn, James. And they said, will the first film that is scheduled for 2022 be the Mandalorian movie?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Going back to what I said weeks ago, yes. I think it's going to be a Mando movie after 3 seasons of Mando on Disney Plus. They're going to go to a movie. And I think the other ones they've referenced are some other type of series.
James, what do you think?
Not a chance.
Wow. All right.
This is me and Lacey. No way. And the reason I say that is because not everybody has Disney Plus. So you expect that Mandalorian movie to be the big grand finale of the series, and nobody's going to go see it. I mean, people are going to go see it. People who've watched 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, but there's a reason that movies that are based on a TV show don't do that well in theaters. It's very rare. And I know people can give examples like, oh, look at Sex and the City, and they did Sex and the City 2, and those movies did really well. But it's like that's very rare that people actually go out in droves. I mean, even Game of Thrones avoided that. Even Breaking Bad avoided that. Now, I know they did a movie. They didn't release that movie in theaters, a special for Netflix, and it's just it's not. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think a Breaking Bad movie would have actually done like Star Wars numbers. You know what I mean?
So I think you both make really good points on why it could be and why it wouldn't be. That's tough for me. I'm going to say no, just because the odds of it, like the James Baney approach, the odds of it being it is less likely than it not being it.
Yeah.
But I see.
John, I have a question for you.
How dare you?
Dare you?
How dare you? Yeah.
See, I can predict you too. All right, Gilleran. We need some new shtick.
I haven't said that in a long time, actually.
No, you're right. But I knew it was coming because you did the
For
setup.
all those long time listeners.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that it will be. But I'm dying to find out what it is because you see the crew over there under the Disney umbrella over at Marvel, like here's half a dozen movies that we got coming out, and Star Wars is like, the future is going to be in books and TV shows, and we can't come up with any movie ideas, even though we're the biggest movie franchise of all time. Get it together, guys! Time to make a movie, but we'll see. But that is it. That is it for Ask the Resistance. If you guys want a question answered on the show, anytime you want, shoot off a tweet using hashtag AskTheResistance, or you can email us at resistancebroadcast@gmail.com, or usually I'll fire off a tweet asking for questions, and you can post them under there. But thanks for contributing to the show. We always have a good time with those, so we appreciate that. But that brings us towards the end of the show, and we want to thank everyone for listening and watching and being a part of the Resistance. If for whatever reason you had an app that our podcast was on that is not on anymore, it's kind of out of our control. We're trying to get back on other apps here and there, but really it's our RSS feed was picked up by other apps, and we kind of redid our RSS feed to make it a more smoother experience. So we are on tons of apps. So just go to resistancebroadcast.com and see the list of them there. There's even more that we haven't even heard of. There's probably at least 15 different places you can listen or watch the show. So we appreciate you sticking with us. And make sure you're subscribed. So wherever you listen or watch, and then of course, a lot of people say they find us because someone told them about us. So don't hold that lightly. Don't take that for granted. We grow because of you and you out there listening and watching. So if you know anyone who likes Star Wars or maybe just got into Star Wars, let them know about TRB. We really appreciate that. Make sure you're going to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. We just talked about the review for the Kylo Ren comic that Kyle Larson did. So thank you, Kyle, for that. Patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. If you want to support us, become a Resistance officer. There's 5 tiers. You can be a lieutenant, major, commander, admiral, or general. Go check out the site. Again, patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. Not only are you supporting us, but you're allowing us to improve the quality of this show and also make our other content that we talked about. Lacey's Outpost, the Rumor and Theory review, the Clone Wars fan show, the Mando fan show. We have a lot of other ideas that we want to get through, and the only way that's possible is because of your support. So thank you to all of our existing patrons and future officers, but a special thank you to our generals, Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Neel Lowery, Jeremie Myers, Neil Shah, David Probus, John Risi, Seth Keim, Micah Harrison, Tampa Movie Guy, Michael Gaines, and Val Trichkov. Generals, thank you so much for all of your support. Guys, tpublic.com/user/resistance broadcast. Get some of our gear. You got, I'm wearing I Am All the Jedi, the 2-sided shirt. Lacey's got our logo. Make Solo 2 happen. It's all there. They have sales very often, so I shouldn't be saying this, but wait for a sale, save a few bucks. Pick up a shirt. There's stickers and stuff on there too. We may have some announcements coming up down the line about some of our merch. Nothing to reveal specifically yet, but we're kind of excited about what's going on with that. More on that later, but until then, you guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James?
You can find me playing the Castlevania that they put on iOS and almost beating it. I'm almost there. Also on Twitter and Instagram at MyTrinks, but who would go there, right?
Castlevania blast from the past. Lacey.
People can find me on Twitter at Lacey Gilleran and also on Instagram at Lacey Gilleran. I've been more active on there lately. I apologize.
I've noticed.
I know. Thank you so much, John. Also, just reminding you all to wash your hands and take your vitamins and get a lot of sleep and be safe.
And enjoy your weeks, because guess what?
Absolutely.
We'll be back on Thursday where we're going to have a discussion about villains. And are they getting killed off too soon by Star Wars? What's going on? So we're going to talk about that and have other fun. And of course, your tweets in Resistance Transmission. So again, enjoy your weeks. And thanks for stopping by the base. It will open again on Thursday morning right here on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.
Bye.
It's way late.
I know. I figured, I was like, he's probably in a cut already. So